Welcome along to another episode of the ultimate guide to absolutely everything. So today we're going to have a look at the sort of plethora of lenses that we've got available to you. So the first lens we've got, which is the widest lens we currently have in stock, is our 6.5mm lens. So what the 6.5mm lens basically means is you've got an absolute ton of curvature on the top of the lens, which you can just about see here. So what this lens is great for is really wide shots. So it is a fisheye lens, so it will distort the edges of your shot. But what that basically means is you will get some really wide shots. Very famously made by people that skateboard and skateboard videos. So it's really good for getting up close and personal to something, and also see quite a lot of the frame at the same time. You've got one really fat focus wheel, which really is realistically, when you're looking through the lens, you don't see much of a difference because it is that wide. But you do have a manual aperture ring, so do be warned. So when you plug this into a camera, it will think it's got no lens attached, so just press the start-stop button on the back and it will default straight through. And then you've got a manual aperture ring, and you can physically, you might be able to see it here, you can physically see the aperture rings opening and closing inside the lens, which is quite cool. So do bear that in mind. Really good if you want a really wide shot. So that's our 6.5mm. Next one we got 10-18. So this one is a little bit less wide. Of course, take your lens cap off there. So it still does have a bit of fisheyeing on the top of the lens, but not as much as the 6.5mm does. So it allows you to go from 10mm, which is pretty damn wide still, all the way up to 18. So roughly about the sort of 13-14 mark is where you'll start to notice that the image looks a bit flatter and doesn't sort of have the sort of curvature on the end. And as opposed to the previous lens, this one has a stabilizer built in, so make sure you keep that one on. And as usual, has an autofocus and manual focus switch. Of course, the 6.5mm that we just looked at is entirely manual from ground up, so it has no autofocus feature. However, this 10-18mm does, and it's the one I'm currently filming the vertical camera with at the moment. So just simply flick that switch between the two. You notice this one's got the white square. The previous one had a red dot, so obviously that just relates to lining up, like we said in the DSLR video. And as always, don't touch the contacts on the bottom. Really nice lens. Again, really good for getting establishing shots. Quite good with a jib or a camera crane we found in the past. Next up on the hit list is our 24mm. So 24mm is a great little what's called a pancake lens. So what a pancake lens is just a very small form factor. If my memory serves me right, this goes down to f2.8 and basically just has a focus ring, nothing more. You've also got auto and manual focus as usual. Stabilizing is done through the camera, so don't need to worry about it too much because it is so thin. There's not really too much to stabilize. Again, quite good for getting quite a nice wide shot, sort of like, a sort of mid-shot type thing. You can do that absolutely fine with this lens. Really good lens overall. Would highly recommend using it in pretty much most circumstances you can think of. So the 40mm is a great all-round lens. So you've got the kind of best of both worlds. It's a little bit more zoomed in than the 24, but it's not as zoomed in as something like a 50mm. You still get a bit more width in your shots, and with f2.8 you can obviously get some really nice depth of field going on, which is what brings us to our 50mm. So as you can see, the 50mm is a little bit more chunky. These are the STM range, so it basically means you've got the sort of silent electrical motor inside. Again, you've got the autofocus manual focus switch on the side, and one nice slightly fatter focus ring than the 24 and the 40. This one is generally your stock filming lens. You can watch our nifty 50 video to basically look at all the pros and cons of them all. This is the updated version of it. So this is the one with a bit more electrical equipment, and also now features a metal back, which is quite nice, which is something you don't often see in quite cheap low-end lenses. So your 50mm is your standard filming lens. It is great for pretty much everything that you could ever want to film. Do remember though, because it goes all the way down to f1.8, you will get quite a lot of shallow depth of field with it. So do be wary of that. If that's something you want to avoid, you can just put your f-stops a little bit higher. So those three are our main sort of fixed lenses. Then we've got our 10-18, which is the first of our kind of zooming ones, and also the 6.8 as well, is a fixed frame lens. Next one we got is the old faithful 18 to 55. If you are lucky enough to purchase your own camera, you'll probably notice this has come with it. This is like your kind of default stock lens. So on the side here, of course, we've got a AF MF switch for autofocus and manual, and we've also got an on-off for the stabilizer. And you've got a nice big fat ring to swap from 18mm all the way around to 55, and then you've got a focus wheel right at the very front of the lens. And what you'll notice is the lens does pop in and out as you twist it. And this one goes from all the way as low as 3.5 f-stop all the way up to 5.6, depending obviously what number you've got it set on. So 3.5 you'll be on 18, and then 5.6 you'll be on 55mm. So this is kind of like a nice catch-all lens. Really good for photography. Really quite good for quite a lot of circumstances, in all honesty. But you do miss out on that lower aperture. If that is a particular concern to you, then you probably want to go for the fixed 50 or the fixed 24. But if that's not really your main concern, you just want it sort of like a catch-all lens that kind of does a little bit of everything, then this is a good lens for you. Again, you're back to the sort of plastic back, because this is the kind of stock lens that comes with most new cameras you buy. You can pick them up for quite relatively cheap these days. So do bear that in mind if that's something you want to invest in the future. But yeah, 1855 is great because it's basically 18, 19, 20 all the way through to a 55mm lens, all in one nice simple housing. But do be wary about the aperture, because if you set it to 5.6, then yes, you can run from 18 to 55 and you won't notice a change in the shot other than the framing. But if you set it to 3.5, your aperture will change as you zoom this through, especially if you're filming. Not too much of a problem if you're doing photography, but a bit of an issue if you are doing some filming. Then we have this absolute monster. So this is the Sigma 105mm macro. So this is a gorgeous lens, really sharp, really nice glass, very premium feel. As you can see, you've got the metal base there, and you've got 3 extra switches on the side. So you've got autofocus and manual, nice big chunky switch. You've got some image stabilization, either off 1 stage or 2, so you can obviously amplify that up. And then you can actually set your macro to either be at certain levels, or you set it all the way to one side and it will be absolutely full, so it will go all the way in. And you've got a really nice big focal wheel to actually spin that round and focus in on your target. This is a beautiful lens to use. It's really nice and sharp, really clean for whatever you want, but obviously it's fixed to 105mm, so do bear that in mind when thinking how close you need to get to people and things. Then we've got a telephoto lens. So what a telephoto lens basically means is you can zoom in something far away. So this one goes from 75mm all the way around to 300. As you can see, the lens does grow somewhat. So this lens will go from about f4 all the way up to f5.6. So again, similar to how the 1855 works, but obviously starting at a slightly higher point. Again, you've only got 1 switch on it, manual focus or autofocus, and obviously you've got your red dot so you can line it up correctly. So you've got a nice focus wheel on the top, really nice feeling, and also you've got your big zoom on the end. Really good if you want to zoom into something, basically. If you're far away or you're trying to photograph something that's far away that you can't get to, or it's easier to zoom into things, this is a great lens for you. Also, if you want to kind of recreate the sort of iconic reverse dolly zoom shot, this is a good lens to work it with because you've got quite a lot of scope to zoom in and out of things. Do remember to watch our lenses video because you can see everything that all these lenses do and operate with. The last lens I will show you is our Bendy Lens, which is this one. So its technical term would be a tilt shift lens. It's not a full tilt shift lens because it doesn't have the exact sort of tweaks and things because you're basically having to do it manually by hand. But it's a nice little lens that you can play around with, and you can physically bend the top and the sides like so. So this has 3 controls on it. The first one, which is this big fat ring here, is your focus wheel. So that's the first point of call. As you notice, as I pop that out, we can then twist this wheel here. So this wheel is actually our aperture ring. So again, you might be able to see it in this top camera here. We can actually change our aperture backwards and forwards as we twist this lens. If I pop the bottom out, you might actually be able to see it open and close a little bit better, as you can see there. So we can zoom in and zoom out exactly where we want with our aperture. And then the last ring is this rubber ring just on the front, just on the back of the lens here. So what this rubber ring does is allows you to lock it in place. So you twist it one way, and I'll just put this back cap on just to make it a bit easier. So you can then obviously bend your lens to where you want it, and then you basically lock it in place using this rubber ring, and then you'll notice it's a lot harder to twist that. So what essentially it does is as the light comes in from the side, it actually bounces through the lens and then into your camera at the back. So it basically shifts the focus from being a straight line to being off at an angle. So it allows you to have kind of create that sort of mysterious effect with your shots. But either way, do remember to have a look at our lenses guide, which has pictures to show you exactly how far each lens zooms in. And you can also watch our lenses video as well, where you can watch myself and Will go through all the lenses and see exactly what each one does. Otherwise, in the next episode, we'll probably be talking about a bit of sound. So keep an eye out on that, and we'll catch you in the next video. See you later.